How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this first Tuesday of February? Thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. A little chillier than you'd like, I know.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Temps in the low 50s, inland even in the 40s. But it'll warm up quickly today. And it'll get warmer as the week goes on and then cooler on the weekend, supposedly. How are you?
I feel so much better now knowing what the weather's going to be like for the next 5 or 6 days.
You do know the weather is the most important piece of information that apparently can be given out. All research indicates that. All right? Why do you give me a hard time for giving out the weather?
Because you have mocked the weather since I've known you, and since we started Act 2, you feel compelled to be a weatherman.
Well, one, the weather in the morning is far more important than it is in the afternoon. All right, that's number one, because people are just beginning their day. Two, I mocked how much time the weather got during the newscasts, because you can give it out that quickly. You can do weather in 20 to 30 seconds. And the fact that they get a top of the newscast hit, then they get their 4+ minutes in the middle, and then they get another hit before they say goodbye. It's like, okay, you're doing 22 minutes of news, and you're giving 6 of it to weather.
See, this is my point. You're very bitter about the weather, and while you say you only wanted to be a sportscaster, I think somewhere deep down inside, you're jealous of all weathermen, weather people, and want to go back into television simply to be a weatherman.
I did the weather probably a couple dozen times throughout my career.
Missed your calling, I see.
Well, I didn't say I was good at it. I just said I filled in and did it. Had a guy in Binghamton who got, Bob, sorry, got to do this, but the late Bob Buchanan, Bob was a big Mets fan. And Mark, if Bob went home in between shows and started watching the Mets and had maybe 1 or 2 too many, Bob would call in at about 10:10 and go, I'm not coming back. Okay, gotcha.
Love that. I absolutely love that there's a world, or at least was a world, where you could get drunk and call in and say, I'm too drunk, basically, to come back to work. Can you guys handle it? And they said, sure, we got you covered. See you tomorrow.
Now, we never told the news director.
I understand that, but today that wouldn't fly.
No, it wouldn't.
Someone would. I think he's got a problem. We're going to have to tell. I think we need to have an intervention. No, the guy's watching the Mets game and he had 6 beers for crying out loud.
And
intervention.
And that was because one time Bob came back and Bob had a couple. And it was about 9:45, and Bob was really cranky because the Mets lost another one, and Bob was really cranky on the air that night. And I literally pulled him aside, and the executive producer was like, Bob, you okay? You were just not in a good mood. You were not, your cheery self on the air and what have you. And he goes, my dog is sick and the Mets bullpen and blah, 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 blah. And so I just said to Bob, I go, Bob, just call in next time. I go, you've been here 30 years. And I can do a damn thing to you. I go, you could take the 11 o'clock news off for 4 months straight. I go, February, May, November. Those are the books. You got to do the 11 3 months out of the year. And so Bob started calling in. He's like, yeah, you're a good dude, Moulton. Okay, Bob.
I think that's a solid description of David. Good dude.
You're a good dude.
I think that would be certainly an A or B choice for you. How would you describe David Moulton? A good dude. B, a good dude, but angry.
Sometimes. But also, Bob had bad hair. Bob had bad hair, right, and so that made me feel good. Doing the.
Oh, I didn't know if when he was drunk, if it was all over the place. That's why he couldn't go on the air.
Sometimes he'd come back, he wouldn't quite put it on right.
I like that you apologized to Bob before the story, and he's dead.
He is.
There's no need to ever apologize when telling a story about someone who's dead.
Don't know. Bob takes on different hours now. He might be up now. But, Bob, sorry. So it
has begun, people. Yesterday was the first of what we like to call a long winter that will last through the spring and summer.
the long winter of our discontent.
I mean, Game of Thrones for years went with winter is coming. That's basically what today is for the football fan. Winter is here.
219 days away from when the Chiefs will host whoever on that Thursday night football
Tom Brady and the Tennessee Titans.
31 weeks and 2 days away. So the number is 219 for the NFL, 207 for college. That's if you count week 0. It's 207 to like 6 games are being played. One of them is Navy, Notre Dame, and Ireland in late August. But the first full weekend of college football, the magic number is, 214 or something like that.
And those are the last times you will hear those numbers until they are single digits.
Yeah, early June. It doesn't get to double digits for
What
the
do we
NFL
have?
until early June.
Let's try to, piece by piece, explain to the sports fan who is in a bit of, whether it's depression, neglect, whatever stage they are in right now. I think we can help them, David, because between now and August, a lot of things will happen that are worthy. Sporting events. I mean, for you, David, do we get started this weekend, next weekend? With the Daytona 500. This weekend, they have the Carb Day.
You got the XFL this weekend.
David, I said sports.
I'm sorry.
So we've got, Carb Day's the Indy 500. So we've got whatever the Gatorade things, whatever, the duels.
Carb Day. I just thought you were talking about my diet.
Yeah, I think, how about this? How about you try to take carbs off until the football season begins?
What is your problem this morning? What are you, seriously, what has gotten into you telling me to not have carbs until the NFL season
You have your
starts?
choice, weather or carbs.
Wait.
Your wife right now is doing cartwheels around the house with that statement. That made her day there.
She's laughing pretty hard. I will give you that. So wait a minute.
You think about that. You get carbs or weather.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So I have to give up one or the other. Talking about the weather on the show.
Or carbohydrates.
Or carbs in my everyday life.
Yes.
All carbs? I mean, you can't, you're out to dinner? I can't have a roll?
No.
Why? I mean,
a deal's a deal. Yeah.
Wow.
We're going to have you ready to play linebacker by the time football season starts. You're going to walk in and see Troy for the first time, and he's not going to recognize you. You're going to have a better suit on than he does. Your hair is going to be coiffed just perfectly, and you're going to say, Troy, David, how was the summer? Then you're going to flex at him.
Right. That's exactly what I'm going to do. My goodness.
But from a sports standpoint, we have a lot. You got the Daytona 500 in 2 weeks. We're going to chase the 500 very so quickly. March Madness will be upon us.
Right. Mark, on Thursday, you got an NBA trade deadline. I don't know about you, but I love a good trade deadline. In fact, there's no such thing as a bad trade deadline.
Well, and the trade deadline for the NBA folks, there's a handful of players out there of whether or not they get moved because you have no idea who's going to win anything in the NBA right now. A trade could make a huge difference to a few teams out there.
D'Angelo Russell's apparently available. Who knows? The Timberwolves may blow it up. Of course, we don't know what it is, but they may blow it up. Half the Knicks are available. Don't know how much value that has.
I was going to say someone would have to want that, but that's a great point. And then you chase that with Augusta in April.
Right.
Well, leads us right to the NHL and NBA playoffs. That'll take us through till June. David, before you know it, we'll be in single digits without even have to mention football, and that doesn't even talk about the draft and free agency that's just around the corner.
And the draft's in Vegas, for goodness sakes.
So there's something else in Vegas here in a couple of weeks that I now want to go to, I think, more than the draft.
In a couple of weeks in Vegas.
3 weeks, to be exact. A little less than 3 weeks.
What's that?
February 22nd is the 40th anniversary of a little hockey game that was played in Lake Placid, New York.
The Miracle on Ice.
That would be the little hockey game that was played in Lake Placid. Yes, happened to listen to an interview with Al Michaels yesterday. And the Las Vegas Golden Knights have invited all of the remaining players and Al, who he kind of calls himself the team mascot. I mean, it is pretty fun to hear Al Michaels, who has called everything. Every single big sporting event, basically, that there is, with the exception of the World Cup. And he said yesterday, outside of going to my kid's soccer game when he was little, I've never seen a soccer game. So Al has no interest in doing the World Cup.
No, he doesn't.
But because he said he was, Rich Eisen asked him if there's something he'd want to do. And he didn't say it arrogantly. He just matter-of-factly said, I don't think so. He goes, I'm quite fortunate. I don't know if there's an event that because he did a Rose Bowl. It's how they got started. When he was working for KNBC or whatever radio station in San Francisco he worked for, they were affiliated with the station KNBC in L.A., and UCLA was playing Ohio State, 72-73 Rose Bowl. And Ohio State was undefeated, number one team in the country. UCLA beat them pretty handily. But the UCLA guy had the national broadcast. Gowdy did the NBC. The UCLA guy got the national radio broadcast, so they brought Al in to do the local, and it was just like, he did a Rose Bowl. I mean, you did a Rose Bowl, too, when you were 20? Oh, great. But that was, I just thought, fascinating that they're bringing everybody there. I would love, I'm not a nostalgia guy, but for that night, yeah, I wouldn't mind being in Vegas on the 40th anniversary just to see that. Apparently, Eruzione has penned a new book recently about it.
And he sold off, I think when it was the 35th year, he had a big sell-off of a lot of his memorabilia. He kept a couple of things, but otherwise he got rid of most of it. And it took a little heat, and he was kind of like, hey, I got family. He goes, it's not like I had a big NHL career.
And they sit in boxes.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he goes, besides, it's my stuff. It's my stuff. I talked to my, family about it. Some people wanted certain things, but, a lot of stuff.
But it was like gloves and sticks. Yeah. What are you going to do with that?
Right.
You going to give it to your buddy that owns the sports bar? You going to put it in your man cave?
It would look really good, though. If
I know somebody. Cave. I heard there is someone here, and I won't mention his name because I was told this story, not really for air, but there is one Southwest Floridian who I know who he is. We've not met. But apparently his stuff has stuff. There's one memorabilia collection in Naples that you, of all people, David, might be there for a day.
So in other words, you're saying he could sell tickets and tours just that people take a look at his stuff?
He has a wall of autographed baseballs that are just signed by non-baseball people, like presidents in different...
Oh, wow.
Not to mention all of the Hall of Famers who have signed baseballs and different things like that. But I was told that it is one hell of a collection.
249-8167 is our number, 249-8167 if you want to chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line. And those following us on twitch.tv have noticed that, yes, all right, Frank is ecstatic this morning that I'm back. Lots of petting going on if you're watching.
Yeah, he broke in before the show started today, just busted the door down before my daughter was even up.
Sorry, Frank, I had to leave you for a few days. All right. I won't do it often, though.
No, you're pretty much back in the big chair for a while. I mean, I'm sure there'll be an FGCU game that you'll have to travel for.
There are a couple coming up in February in which I'll be out of town for a day or two. But, yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then, I'll be tied to the chair, so to speak, until golf in June.
Will you take an XFL job if offered one? Would your wife let you take an XFL job if offered one?
Well, my wife's very much into earning as much money as possible while, we can still earn money. So, because it would be in Tampa. I mean, that's a leisurely drive. So sure. But, I've was not contacted by Fox to work any of the XFL games. So that'll be good. I'm still waiting for payment on the Alliance.
And that is something you will wait for a long, long, long time.
Yes, it is, Mark. Yes, it is. 249-8167, Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line. Did you hear first off, there's two things that we have not gotten to in golf, which I find interesting. One is Koepka comes out. I guess they're trying to do mid-round interviews, and Koepka goes, "Yeah, I ain't doing those. No." He goes, I'm sure the viewers would, like it. I get it. I do, but no, I'm not doing them. I'm concentrating on my own thing. And he says no other major sport does it.
You actually do, Brooks. Brooks, believe it or not, NASCAR, which I know how tough golf is and how your nerves can get shot, but these guys are driving around vehicles that can crash. And they talk to them while they drive around on yellow flags, driving, 60, 70 miles an hour?
Yeah, doing the speed limit, if you will.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk on the phone on our cars, too, but
right.
There's no brake lights. So, yes, they do it. Coaches in every sport do it. Players know. So, can we interview your caddy, Brooks? Because I have to be honest, I'd rather interview the caddy than... No, and I'm being serious. Because now, I don't think they'd be honest. How's your guy playing today? Tell you what, we're struggling with the driver. He's got to figure out... we're doing a few things, but we might have to go to the 3-wood. That if you could get a caddy to be honest about his guy, I mean, that's essentially being able to interview the engine of the car, or for that matter, Secretariat, David.
Don't tease me like that, because you know how I feel. I'll consider a horse an athlete if I can interview them afterwards.
But I would rather talk to the caddy, because not one golfer is going to give you an ounce of anything. It's going to be Belichick at halftime or Saban at halftime.
Yeah, there's like Phil and 3 others who will probably actually give you a decent...
You never know. Now, here's the thing. If Brooks says no, and JT and Tony Finau and 40 others say, yeah, we'll do it, then get them. Because if any of them open up, it would be terrific television.
Lee Trevino always had the attitude, and granted, Lee's an original. But Lee's like, listen, you got to concentrate for 45 seconds at a time, 70 times. What am I going to do the other 3.5, 4 hours? He goes, why don't I talk? Have some fun. Talk to the gallery. Talk to my fellow competitors.
Fuzzy talked to everybody for years. There were a lot of them, and there are a lot of them that don't take it that seriously. But we have made, the PGA Tour, NASCAR caught a lot of heat, David, for every driver being virtually the same. You had Junior, and then you had the Gordon run where every guy was corporate and robotic and not very fun. And many of the old guard and some of the new guard of fans didn't like that because they wanted personality. Well, golf has become that way. Golf was always uptight. But post-Tiger, all of these guys, until we had this Matthew Wolff character that actually swings differently than someone else, between Jim Furyk and Matthew Wolff, find the original, DeChambeau. You got about 3 guys that are originals out there. The rest of them are flipping robots. And they all have personal trainers, and they all have a swing coach, and they all are worried about what the velocity of the ball is coming off the club. I mean, it's launch angle. And they're not interesting. Brooks actually is.
He is. He's a thinker, but he's also very serious, and he just said, listen, I'm not going to do it. And this came up because on the European Tour, it's now become a significant part of their coverage. They make you do it. But they also have a little thing going on in which golf's trying to crack down on slow play. And so there was a group in the European Tour event over the weekend in which Graham McDowell, I believe, got a warning or a stroke penalty for slow play, but it all came about after he gave a mid-round interview. He's like, well, I stopped to do the interview, and so now you're going to give us a hard time? And so he's like, well, then I'm not going to do any more interviews. And so Koepka was asked about it, and he goes, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I understand European Tour, they actually, when they tap you on the shoulder, I guess you kind of have to do it. PGA Tour, it's still optional. And so Koepka basically letting the networks know, yeah, don't tap me on the shoulder.
I'd tap him every time. Every time.
That's not how the golf media works.
I know, and the golf media are pansies.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, they are. They pay so much. These networks pay so much money. They are the lifeblood of all these athletes. Who was it at the Super Bowl that actually thanked the media? Was it one of the Niners players? Somebody at Media Day thanked the media. Peter King wrote about it and went, wow, in today's world, there's a shocker.
Yeah, I think he said I've been covering X number of Super Bowls. This is the first time that a member of the media, a player actually thanked the media for the coverage. And occasionally you get the player that retires that also thanks the media. And in theory, the media is supposed to just be the conduit to the fan. I know sometimes they take that role and self-promote and all that. Shocking, I know. But I just thought I'd throw that out there. You're the big golf guy. All right, we're the number one golf.
I'd rather have
market
the
in
caddy.
country.
I'd rather have the caddy than the player.
If the caddies would be truthful, and I think it would be great also because it'd be a chance for these caddies to maybe,
They have personality.
yeah, but to make a name for themselves, and also, we've talked about this in the past, in which the tour doesn't let them have their own endorsement deals. Some of the golfers try to take care of their caddies. They give them a piece of their endorsement deal. Hey, you wear the BMW stuff that I do as well. I'll give you a piece, that sort of deal. But
most of them live by the 3 ups. Show up, keep up, shut up. That's it. And that's, Buckley caddied for McNeil in an event. And Tom Buckley, who played 10 years professional hockey, was close at one time in the AHL. He said, it was as humiliating as it gets. He didn't even talk to me.
Well, I'm guessing it would depend on whether you're playing well or not.
Well, George was back after Friday, so that might explain it.
249-8167 is the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 249-8167. A lot to chew on, and we'll begin to do so with the starting 5 on the other side. Hope things are going well for you as we are now into February, and thanks so much for making us part of your day. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.